Thank you all for joining us. Have a great night.
Well, that was a waste of 30 minutes. So Apple just wrapped up their October Scary Fast event, and well, not gonna lie, I personally am pretty disappointed. Now, to be fair, we started off all great. Like, we had the whole spooky Halloween set, it was pretty good. We had the whole dark aesthetic, and we had the nice filmmaking and visual effects as always, super nice, fully Hollywood level. And then they were zooming by the whole Mac section, and they were like really making it seem like something big is coming at the end. But then it just got cut off at 30 minutes, and all we got was MacBook Pros and the iMac. And not gonna lie, that's still a pretty nice upgrade, or at least it's incremental. But at the same time, not huge upgrades. This could have definitely been like just a press release and they would have gotten by fine with it. But instead they made it a whole event, which is usually for like their biggest updates, and it's not really something that really felt like it was worthy of an event. Especially like something like this, which was really hyped up. It was set to 5 p.m. on a Monday evening, which is usually not really like Apple, because normally they do Tuesdays or Wednesday at 10 a.m. And 5 p.m., something really late like this, it's very unusual. So we really thought this was going to be something different. But then all we got was, once again, new iMac and new MacBook Pros. Especially since we usually do get like a showstopper. Like back in WWDC, the showstopper was definitely the Vision Pro, and back in September the showstopper was definitely the new iPhone. And every time we do get like a big release that like really just takes a show, but this time we didn't really get anything substantial. And that really got me thinking about why Apple did this. Like, I don't really want to think about this time like how the MacBook stacks up to the previous MacBook or how these specs really rank, but more so about why Apple's product cycle seems to have like really dried down. And I think this dried up product cycle is clearly leading up to something bigger coming in Apple's product lineup, and the only big thing they seem to be working on right now is Vision Pro. But I'm going to save that rant for a bit later in the video, and right now let's go over a recap over what happened at the event in case you missed it. Also, to be honest, if you missed it, you didn't miss out on much. So firstly, they jumped straight into the new M3 chips, and here we got the new M3, M3 Pro, and M3 Max as we expected. And we got some pretty decent upgrades, like we got a lot of shifts and jumps in the graphics architecture, and all these jumps allow you to do stuff like rendering more, well, wait for it, scary fast. But yeah, overall these allow you to be more scary fast, and we also got some other cool stuff like ray tracing, and all this stuff allows you to be better in, I guess, gaming. Although let's all be honest, nobody's really gaming on a Mac yet, but I think this could lead up to Vision Pro, which once again we'll talk about later. But I think a lot of technology like this will be really helpful in a headset which is going to be used more for gaming. Now along with this, we also got 3nm technology in the chips, which makes it more fast and efficient and overall gets the job done quicker. Once again, always appreciated, and I guess overall this was a pretty sizable upgrade. I'm not going to really complain about it, but at the same time, I'm not the type of guy that's going to upgrade every year, and I wouldn't really recommend anybody to do that unless you got way too much money, or I guess if it's your job to review them. But overall, not really for everybody. But one last thing before we move on to the products, while we're still on the chips, let's talk about these graphs. They're an abomination. Like, they should not exist, and honestly, like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, what do these graphs mean? This goes nowhere, there's no labels, and they're comparing M3 to the M1, which they should be comparing it to the last generation, which was, you know, the M2, not the M1. So I don't know what Apple's doing with these. I guess that's marketing for you, but I think the world's biggest company should be a bit more transparent and clear about what they're trying to say. But anyways, I guess that's my rant for that, and let's move on to the products. So after the chips, they announced their new MacBook Pros, and once again, pretty incremental upgrades, not anything too substantial. We did get brighter screens, and we also got better battery life, but I guess that was all that was pretty much useful. Obviously, we got the new M3 Pro and Max chips, but one thing that surprised me personally was that we actually got the base M3 chips in the 14-inch MacBook Pro. And this did kill the Touch Bar 13-inch MacBook Pro, which, good riddance, I guess. But yeah, we got the M3 chip in the 14-inch Pro, which I guess it's okay since we didn't really get it in the Air yet. But at the same time, it costs like $1,600 USD and $2,100 Canadian, which is, it's a lot. It's definitely more than the Touch Bar MacBook Pro 13-inch used to be, but obviously it's at the same time a better machine. But for the base M3 chip, like, it's only a couple of hundred extra to like upgrade to the M3 Pro at that point. And I would not recommend like pretty much anybody, unless you're really saving down to the penny. I wouldn't really recommend most people to buy this, and I would just say like go for the M2 MacBook Air, because once again, it's a really incremental upgrade. It's not really important to have the M3 over the M2, so it's probably better to go for the M2 MacBook Air unless you really need those extra ports on the MacBook Pro and you can't afford the M3 Pro. Now we also got 128 gigabytes of maximum RAM on it, which is, I'm not gonna lie, that's a lot for a laptop, and I have nothing to say about that. That's absolutely crazy. And along with that, we got Space Black, which is basically matte black on the MacBook Pro, which is, I think a lot of people are gonna really buy that. A lot of people are gonna love that, because even the Midnight MacBook Air was not necessarily matte black. It was close, but it kind of had a blue tint to it. This is actually matte black, or at least it looks like it. And I think a lot of people are definitely gonna buy that. But that was pretty much it for the MacBook Pros. As I said, incremental upgrade, nothing big, like, well, smaller notch, Face ID, extra ports, faster ports, nothing crazy like that. Just the same MacBook Pro we loved with smaller upgrades. Now we also got a new 24-inch iMac, and it looks pretty much the exact same. It is pretty much the exact same. The only difference is now it has the M3 chip, and it's only the base M3 chip, no M3 Pro or Max or Ultra or anything wild like that. And we did get braided cables for the accessories, which is nice. They also match the color. And speaking of the accessories, which is the Magic Mouse and the keyboard, are, wait for it, Lightning. Not USB-C, but they're Lightning, which absolutely sucks. And we get a Lightning to USB-C cable in there, which it's disappointing, but at the same time, this whole event wasn't necessarily impressive, as you've seen already. But that's pretty much it for the iMac. Literally just braided cable and M3 chip. Nothing new in that. So now that we've gone over the whole recap, let's talk about my little rant about this. Now let's start off with this. I'm just disappointed. Like, it's not even because Tim Cook didn't come up dressed as Dracula or whatever, although that is a small part of it. But my main disappointment is that it feels like Apple didn't try enough. Like, not gonna lie, the most impressive part about this whole event was the fact that it was all shot on an iPhone, which is pretty crazy, especially this specific shot. That like absolutely blew my mind. Like, it's shot with an iPhone. That's absolutely crazy, and full props to Apple. I guess that did take a lot of effort, so maybe they tried a bit. But with the products, it felt like they didn't try hard enough. Like, they were absolutely zooming by it, as I mentioned. And it really seemed like something was coming at the end. Like, it could have been a Pro Display XDR, a HomePod, AirPods Max, anything that was actually gonna be new.
So I was just editing this video and I kind of realized right in the moment that the showstopper could have very well been the iMac Pro. Like, that would have made complete sense. A bigger iMac, 30 inches, 32 inches, maybe would have had like M3 Pro, M3 Max in it. That would have made complete sense. And instead, we got what we got, which is just the MacBook Pros and the smaller iMac. And the bigger iMac Pro would have made complete sense. And I don't know, maybe that was missing, maybe that's not ready, maybe that's not even happening. But I just think something like that would have made more sense. I just wanted to add that in. Anyways, back to the video.
Not just recycled products that could have probably been a press release like they were last year, but something that was actually new. Like, it might be just me, but like most people don't really care if the MacBook's like 1.4 times faster than the M2 MacBook Pro. Like, it doesn't like really resonate with a lot of people. Most people want new things that like actually change the MacBook, not just like new chips. Like, that's nice, obviously we need those too, like to keep the MacBook like up to date and stuff. At the same time, the MacBook's already so fast. Like, most people don't really care about more speed at this point. At the same time, they do care about like new stuff that's actually coming to the MacBook that actually changes the way that they use it. Like, for example, you're telling me Apple couldn't fit a Face ID sensor into the notch? Like, we've had the notch for 3 generations of Macs now, and we couldn't really fit a Face ID sensor into it? Like, it doesn't make sense. It's 2024 or almost 2024. and we've had the notch for 3 generations. We're even fitting 128 gigabytes of RAM into this, but we have no Face ID. Like, that doesn't make sense. Or maybe even like just a smaller notch. Anything that actually changes the MacBook. But instead we just got like 1.5 times faster speed, faster, you know, renders and stuff like that. It's cool, but like most people aren't really caring about that, and that is frankly what disappointed me. It just seems like Apple doesn't care enough. Now, that being said, I do think I know the reason why. And I think this dried up product cycle is clearly leading up to something bigger coming in Apple's product lineup. And the only big thing they seem to be working on right now is Vision Pro. Now, the Vision Pro is expected to come early next year, which is just around the corner. And that is gonna be the next big thing. Like, that is gonna change everything for Apple. That's gonna be Apple's new big thing. And that's where they are like putting most of their resources. Now, you might be like, well, this is basically a lunchbox sitting on your face. Like, it's literally £1, and it's not really something that most people are gonna use, especially at the price, which, well, it rhymes with dirty, alive, blundered. It's 3,500, but especially at this price, it's something that most people aren't really going to resonate with. So most people are definitely going to be like, why would Apple put so much of their R&D into this, and why is Apple like focusing so much onto this and messing up their whole product line? And this is because, well, that is their future. Like, Apple wants to make the Vision Pro eventually. This is dirty as hell. Apple wants to make their Vision Pro look, well, eventually like this. Like, you just put them on and take them off, not like do the whole like strap the whole ski goggles around you and then put the strap here. It's a mess, and nobody wants that, especially it weighs like £1, and that is only like their first generation. Maybe like 5-7 generations down the line, more people are going to be able to afford it, and it's going to be more easy and convenient for people to use, and the system's actually going to be developed. And Apple's really aiming at that right now, not the MacBooks. And we've seen this recently with all of Apple's product lines. So like, all of Apple's product lines are just dried out. The recent Apple Watch that came last month, basically just a brighter screen, and that was pretty much it. With the iPad 2, I don't think we've had a new iPad in probably over a year now. And similarly with the AirPods Max, that's been waiting for an upgrade too, and well, most people's are worn out by now, and that isn't really a great thing. And even the most recent example would be today's event, which is like, well, events are supposed to be Apple's biggest products, and this was just an incremental release. Like, this could have very well been a press release, but they showcased their biggest releases here, and this definitely wasn't a release. So I mean, all in all, it's really clear Apple's really just trying to focus on getting the Vision Pro out of the door, getting it to developers, getting it to the average consumer, and like making sure that the product line actually develops and evolves over time to be more convenient, easy to use, and actually more affordable for the average person. And that is where Apple's R&D is going to go for the next few years. So it's basically all just going to be iPhones and, well, AR and VR stuff. But yeah, overall, pretty small event, pretty incremental releases. I personally wasn't even going to make a video about this event at first because I got midterms coming up and this is probably not the best time for me to do it. But at the same time, I got this rant, I really wanted to make it, and here I am, I guess. But anyways, that's it for today's video. Make sure to comment down below about what you think. Do you think Apple actually did have a big event and that this was actually just me tripping out all along? I want to know what you guys think.